Hey everyone, and good morning to episode 60 of the Pal Not Found podcast. We're doing a little bit something different as we prepare for the stream here. The Nintendo Direct, Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, coming up live here in about 30 minutes or so. We are getting ready, we're getting prepared, and we're going to shoot off a little bit of predictions here in the early morning going. So good morning, everybody. Hopefully everyone's had a good night's sleep. This event is at 9 a.m. that Nintendo's going to drop because unlike F1 and the MLB, Nintendo knows when to schedule their programming to make sure that everyone sees it on time. And so before we get going, I just wanted to kind of make sure that everything was set up, make sure everything was live and everything was ready to go, but also talk a little bit about what we might see here and make a couple different predictions about what is going on here with settings. Let's see. There we go. What's going to go on here and what kind of predictions we might see here in this stream for the new hardware that they made us wait for. 3 months ago, they had a little teaser trailer that gave everyone a slight little view of what it's going to look like, which looks like a bigger and better Nintendo Switch. Had bigger controllers, bigger screen. It looked like it was going to launch with some sort of new Mario Kart that was being kind of analyzed and speculated. They're like, this is not part of Mario Kart 8. What is going to be? Maybe this is going to be here towards launch. And so we're here to talk about that. We're here to talk about a little bit about what Switch kind of felt like over the last, what has it been, 8 years since the March 3rd launch of Nintendo Switch. I remember in January, it was like mid-January, they did a very similar type direct that they did last January for the original Switch. And just making sure that I'm live here on the channel. There we go. And they teased it out, and they came back a couple months later, and the January Switch, they kind of went in depth about what was going to happen, and it launched a couple months later. Today, it seems like it's being rumored that this hardware is going to launch right after this direct, which would seem very, very abrupt, if you know what I mean. I feel like it might take a couple days. Everyone's saying it's going to launch today. I feel like that's probably not going to happen. I would like to see them kind of give everybody a day to kind of prepare, because just if you've bought anything in the last 3 years, that pre-orders are an absolute mess here. Let me get into the software here. There we go. All right, I'm back in business. Because you're going to be boxed out immediately. There's going to be software bots everywhere. There's going to be stores, websites crashing. That just seems to be the MO for most of these launches in general. And so hopefully we're not going to see something like that happen today. However, last time this happened, they kind of went into detail. They gave us a date. They gave us a launch date. And then you couldn't find one for, at least when I was living up in the New Jersey area around New York, you could not find one for a long time. It took me, I want to say months. I think it was like June, July, in order to really get my hands on one locally before the demand stopped. And if PS5 and Xbox is any kind of indication of how things were going, granted those things launched during the height of the COVID pandemic, then it doesn't necessarily look good to go grab one just off the store shelf. It's not the old days anymore where you would line up somewhere at a Best Buy and try to grab one. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully there's an abundance. Hopefully the chip shortage is not really what it was back in the COVID area. Hopefully supply chain issues have kind of been solving themselves slowly and gradually, that this is not necessarily a problem, but I don't have a lot of faith going into this launch that it's going to be easy to find one. It never seems to be easy to find one when it comes to a Nintendo console. But I'm excited. I'm excited to actually do this. I'm excited. This is the first one that we're doing as a show. This is the Pal Not Found podcast. You can find us at youtube.com @PalNotFound. And find us on all the social platforms, Instagram, TikTok, anything that you can, Facebook, and subscribe to the show and do a podcast. And do a review. It helps the podcast kind of grow. This is the first time that we've been doing something like this live. We did it very, very early in the show's history, kind of after the fact. But this is it adds a little bit of more of a layer of excitement to the show doing this live. So let me pan over here just to make sure everybody knows. I'm just kind of sitting here waiting for the page to start for this Nintendo Direct. And I've got a couple predictions here for... Let me move this over so it's full screen here. And I've got some predictions here for the show that I kind of wanted to get into as we wait. It looks like we are about 25 minutes out. I love this generation. This generation was great when it comes to owning a Nintendo platform, especially coming off the heels of the Wii U generation. The Wii U generation was kind of a little depressing. It was a piece of hardware that didn't feel good in the hands. It was like owning a Hasbro toy on steroids. It was not the success that the Wii was. It was a confusing successor, and it felt like a half step to the generation that we kind of came to in Switch. And this generation knocked it out of the park. When it came to hardware, when it came to marketing, like, it wasn't the most powerful system, and Nintendo never claims to be the most powerful system there is. It was a really upgraded Wii U system that really delivered on the concept of, hey, you can play it on the go and you can play it on the TV. You can do both. If you remember working with the Wii U kind of could do both. It freed up the television in the living room. But if you went like 4 or 5 feet beyond where you were supposed to with the Wii U, you just weren't. The reception was just going to cut out completely. So it didn't really deliver that, hey, I'm going to free up the TV experience that it kind of promised to do. And you can play it kind of on the go. Because if you went anywhere past your like bedroom or past out of your apartment, you were pretty much done for. The Switch delivered on all of this. It kind of married the two lines of systems that Nintendo had, right, with the Wii U and with the 3DS and the DS family of platforms, and gave you some sort of mobile gaming device that really was invented like years before the Steam Deck really kind of took off. It wasn't as mobile as like the 3DS was. You couldn't put this system in your pocket. This system is quite large here, but more importantly too, it was just kind of marketed really, really well. It was very, very clear. They didn't necessarily bog you down with all the ancillary things that they would tend to do in the past, right? It wasn't like, a video game console plus a health console. It wasn't a video game console plus a Fitbit. It wasn't trying to it was just a gaming console. That was it. They simplified menu, UI, when you went into the system. No longer were you greeted with 4,000 Mii's running towards the screen and cluttering your user experience. It was very boiled down to, you're playing games on this thing. It wasn't a Netflix box like a lot of these other platforms were. It wasn't, hey, you can download HBO Max. Like, that ended up coming to the system eventually in very small spurts, but it was a gaming device, pure and simple. And with that, it launched with a really, really powerful lineup of software led by The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which really, I mean, if you're going to knock it out of the park, you launch with something like that and you bring everybody to the table, right? This is what I think is going to happen here with the Nintendo Switch 2 as we end up being 20 minutes out here from the Nintendo Direct. We're just, again, waiting here on the page for... lost my mouse here. We're just waiting here just for the Nintendo Direct to start. I think they got to do the same thing. One of my predictions here, because I've got 5 for you, if I can get into it as we get 20 minutes to the event, is that this thing has to launch with a very, very powerful piece of software to sell the system, right? That is the killer app concept needs to show up here for Nintendo. They showed Mario Kart. They showed a Mario Kart. What my prediction is not that Mario Kart is going to be a software alongside, but my prediction is that Mario Kart, whatever this next iteration of Mario Kart is, it's going to be an online service similar to like a Halo Infinite kind of thing, or that you have to sign up for the NSO to the Nintendo Switch Online in order to get access to it, and it will be shipped with every single system. This is my crazy prediction for this show, that Mario Kart will be a pack-in, a la the Wii Sports was with the Wii. That if you think about the sales that Mario Kart 8 did over the last 2 generations, because it was originally a Wii U game, that thing sold over 75 million copies. 75 million, right, copies. If you pack it in with every single system, yeah, you're losing that additional sale, but also you're giving the consumer a reason to go out and get the system. Is that if everyone doesn't, if it comes with everyone, you're making that install base as big as it possibly can, because everyone's got it. So no one has an excuse not to play it. So if this thing becomes like a fully online kind of game, then hey, you're ensuring its future from here on out. Right? Think about the success that like a game like Tetris 99 had with getting people to sign up for Nintendo Switch Online, their online service. That game was huge, right? But after the years had gone on, there are other problems as well. The user base went from, hey, you're playing against players, to you're playing against bots, right? That's what you don't want to necessarily have happen if you have a constantly online game. So why not pack it in? That's my first crazy prediction as we end up being 18 minutes out here from the Direct. My second one is that they've been teasing. So if they have this big killer game, right? They've been teasing other games that have been confirmed for Switch, right? Metroid 4 is the biggest one of them that they just in last week talked about in a Direct that's coming, right? I think you see that game kind of pushed over towards Christmas. I think that game does not come alongside the Switch. I don't think that they'll talk about it a little bit, but I don't think that's part of the launch lineup. I think they want to backfill their lineup kind of similarly to what they did with Mario Odyssey when the Switch launched. Remember in 2017, when the new hardware came out, Breath of the Wild was a launch game, along with Mario Odyssey came out in October, right? It really bookended the 10 months of the year that the Switch was out, to give people a reason. Hey, if you want to buy it towards launch, you're going to have something to play. If you want to buy it around Christmas, and that's like your big Christmas gift of the year, you're going to have something to play. I think we're going to see something Mario related in this Direct for sure. The Switch itself had 4 Mario games come out for it, like 4 mainline Mario games that you would consider in Mario Wonder, Mario Maker 2, Mario Odyssey, and I'm blanking on the other one. And the Bowser's Fury addition to Mario 3D World. I think you're going to see plenty of representation from him in this Direct. So I think Metroid is going to be pushed off to the summer. It's not a big system seller. They said 3 million. It's not a big seller. Metroid is 3 million copies. And when you compare that to something like Mario Kart, I mean, it's still a big success, but it's nothing compared to a family multiplayer kind of appeal game like this. So maybe you see it during launch, but I think you kind of push it off towards the back end when there's probably more stronger software that can support it and be an option for consumers later on the year. Especially since we don't have a lot of information about what games are coming out, right? We can assume that a Donkey Kong's coming out. We can assume that a Splatoon's coming out. But yeah, it's not going to. I don't know if it's going to be around launch. Also, that game has been in development hell for a long time. It was teased with a logo, and then no one heard anything of it. I think last week was the first time we'd seen anything about that game. So I kind of feel like if this thing launches in June, which is what the rumors have been saying about this system, then I think you do see some of the software pushed over to the side. Third prediction. This is a little bit of a wild one, but I wanted to kind of try to make it. I wanted to kind of make it a. Sorry, I had to refresh the feed there. I wanted to make them a little bit more wild than they were necessarily than people have been saying. But we talked about earlier that Nintendo always likes to kind of throw like a weird wild card into the mix of what they're doing. And let me just fix this set. So I think that you're going to see a medical benefit somewhere in this system. Whether it be, let's see, let me try to make this thing full screen here. Let's see here. Oops. Oh, sorry. This is what happens when you try to do this live. Ooh. Oops, excuse me. What's that? All right. There you go. I think you're going to see. Sorry about that. I was just trying to adjust the framing here in OBS. I think you're going to see some sort of medical benefit here. It's going to tell your heartbeat. It's going to be a Fitbit or something like that. It's going to have some sort of integration with Alarmo, helping you sleep better. There's always, I feel like, some sort of health benefit. I mean, if you remember a couple generations ago in the 3D, in the DS era, there was like games constantly reminding you that, to take a break. Go outside, experience the outdoors, right? That's something so Nintendo that I feel like it's bound to happen here on the show. Let me that you're bound to see something here in the release of this game. I'm got two different predictions coming up soon. Let me take a quick break here and we'll be right back. Let me just fix this framing and then we'll be right back with the show. 1 second. We'll be right back. There we go. That looks a lot better. Sorry, I had to take a quick break there just to kind of fix the framing. OBS was giving me a little bit of a hard time, so thank you, OBS, for that. We're going to go ahead and we got about 12 minutes left until this direct, and so let's continue on with our predictions here for the thing. So we talked about Mario Kart being a pack-in. We talked about Metroid being delayed until Christmas. We talked about the medical benefits of something going to be integrated, like something's going to be integrated into this hardware that's going to help your health. I mean, that seems to be always a Nintendo issue. Like they want you to go outside. They want to track your heart rate. Think about the Wii. The Wii had the fitness board for Wii Fitness, and the Wii U had the same thing. I feel like Switch was constantly played with different like fitness boxing or Ring Fit Adventure, which ended up integrating the Switch into a fitness ring. I mean, who in anyone's right mind would see that coming? So there's going to be some sort of medical integration or some sort of integration into Alarmo or something like that just came out. We're going to see something off the wall here from Nintendo because that's what they are. They're a silly company. And I think that's what the excitement gets drummed up for, because it's not just as sterile as something like Xbox or something like PlayStation where they give you the specs, they tell you how many terabytes are in there, and they tell you how powerful this system is if you don't want to buy a computer, buy our box, right? Nintendo kind of is like, hey, you're going to get more in tune with yourself, and you're going to know what your heartbeat is, right? I would not be surprised if they tried to go after an Apple Watch market and made you wear a wrist strap so you could have your Switch 2 on your wrist, a la your Apple Watch. So there's going to be some sort of health integration. So we are about 11 minutes out here. I'm just going to fade back to full screen here for a second. And we're going to talk about the last 4 here. I think one of the detractors of this generation was there were so many good things that happened. I mean, the launch lineup, the first-party games. I mean, 4 Mario games, 4 Zelda games, Cadence of Hyrule is a 5th one. If you're talking about that, a Donkey Kong game, ARMS, all these. Splatoon they had such a good first-party lineup that it almost didn't matter if they didn't get affected by third-party. They did get third-party software in cloud gaming. I mean, think about the Hitman games were all cloud-based. I think MLB The Show at one point was cloud-based. They did such a good job lining up software, and they did such a good job presenting a steady cadence of releases throughout the year that, and they did it in, again, like what we mentioned, kind of a sterile environment, right? It was very game-focused, friendly. But what we missed of that is some of the creativity that would come from Miiverse, or some of the creativity that would come from the user experience. I think you see some of that stuff come back. Specifically things like Street Pass, which I think I think at the time, I think Nintendo needed to kind of scale back a little bit and make it more simplified so they could get a big install base. I think with this big install base that's coming from this older platform, you're going to see more experimentation and maybe a little bit more fun come back into the user interface, right? The old Wii Shop music, right, which died a unceremonious death in this generation. I think you see some of that fun and flair come back now that they're a little bit more on the top of their game. I think when they sell 13 million Wii U consoles over the course of 4 years, you really start going back to basics, going, did we miss the boat? But after the success of Switch becoming like one of the second best console of all time, I think you can allow your developers and you can allow your company at that point to kind of spread your wings a little bit and experiment and have fun with the system, right? This is their time. So let them have fun a little bit with the UI. So bring back things like Street Pass. Bring back some fun in the user design, right? At the very least, make sure it loads, right? That was one of the big detractors from this generation, is that there wasn't a lot going on. There were a lot of games, but trying to load up something like the eShop was really long and unbearable at some point. It just took some time. It chugged, and it used to be really snappy. Wasn't really the case towards the end of this generation. And lastly, as we end up being about 8 minutes, and we'll push pretty quickly here, and once it starts going live, the chat's going crazy. 285,000 people are watching this direct right now, 8 minutes before it starts. We will do our last prediction, then we'll recap, and we'll kind of run down, and then we'll just kind of react to see what happens, right? My wildest prediction is that throughout this generation, we saw a lot of friendly integration with Xbox and Nintendo early on, right? And there was rumors early on that, like, hey, Game Pass is going to be on Switch, right? I think with the way the trajectory, that if you wanted a real wild prediction, I'm going to caveat this, but this is a really, really wild prediction. Maybe Game Pass on Switch, right? That's pie in the sky idea. But the way that Xbox is going into, we're going to buy a whole bunch of developers. We're going to depend less on the box. We're going to cloud stream, all that kind of stuff. Would it be that surprising to see a friendly partnership here? Or would it detract from their messaging? This is completely pie in the sky. So that's my wildest prediction, is that you're going to see this. If I have a sixth prediction, I'm going back to basically what we talked about in the first part of the show. Is my sixth prediction is basically no one's going to be able to pre-order this thing if pre-orders go live today. So let's push over to the feed really quickly. It's going to start at 9 a.m. You can see that chat in the corner just going crazy, waiting for it. But again, this is Nintendo Switch 2. The information is going to come here on the Pal Not Found podcast. We're doing a live reacts. Go ahead and subscribe to the show on all of our social channels or on YouTube. Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, I really like the Switch this generation. I like the mobileness of it. I like the fact that it kind of had a focused local multiplayer kind of built right into the system. It was a really... they made really good choices in the beginning with curation, right? We talked a little bit on an earlier episode of the podcast about how they needed to do something with that store because the eShop was flooded with just junk after a while. It made discovery really impossible to do. So I'm really curious to see if they'll address any of that, what they'll show. I'll be trying to take some notes. It'll be interesting to see what the hardware specs are. When the Switch launched, they had a 6.2-inch screen. They had 32 gigs of memory, and they had 1080p on the television and 720p on the screen, which was kind of the standard at the time. I mean, 2017, but now with everyone having like 4K televisions and 8K televisions even coming into the fore, you'd like to think that those numbers and those resolutions would go up. A lot of this stuff doesn't matter because their artwork is so good that, people, is anybody really counting pixels on the Mario games? But that would be something I'd like to see upped a little bit in the next generation. The OLED 7-inch screen with no bezel, that's probably going we know for a fact that's going to get a little bit bigger. The new specs for the new system are already out there. Especially considering that some of our phones are borderline that big. Some of these iPad minis are that big. I think you got to make the screen a little bit bigger. It's going to make this system a lot less mobile, which has been my concern about all this stuff getting bigger and bigger and bigger, is that like my pockets just aren't getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's harder to hold all these things. The mobileness of this platform is really a little bit in jeopardy. So we'll see. I mean, I'm curious to see what they do and how they push further too. There's with all the experimental things that they did on the Wii. We talked a little bit about the cloud gaming that kind of came and went. It wasn't the greatest experience on the Switch because the power behind the system wasn't that great. But what are they going to do in this next generation that's going to be something that's like, oh, that's different? How clutch was the Switch during COVID? Right? I think that's like an understated part of this console generation that doesn't get talked about enough. A lot of people were playing Animal Crossing. That game came out at a very, very convenient time when everyone was at home and video game playing skyrocketed because there was nothing else to do. If anything, if you look back at this console generation, it's going to be defined by two things. One, the lineup was spectacular in the beginning, and it drew everybody with that big Zelda game. A revolutionary, groundbreaking Zelda game that changed the convention of one of their most popular franchises. And two, in the middle of 2020, when everybody was stuck at home and quarantined, that gave them something to do. It was bike riding and playing Switch, right? And playing video games, mostly playing Animal Crossing, was what a lot of people gravitated to. So that to me is like the defining thing about this generation. We're about 2 minutes out, so hopefully this live stream goes well. If we have any technical difficulties, we will try to correct them on the fly here. But that's what happens when you do something live. You just got to kind of go with it. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for this new thing. I always think that the way they do these things are very clear and concise and beautifully presented. So I'm excited for it. They do have a treehouse scheduled, I guess, after the fact, to show you hands-on stuff. We might take a look at that, but we're really going to just try to react and take some notes of what is being shown here. And yeah, hopefully, it's going to be, hopefully we'll see some good lineups. Hopefully we'll get surprised. And And God help everyone trying to do pre-orders at the same time, because it's going to be hairy out there. So it'll be war. But all right, we're 1 minute out. Just going to refresh the screen here. All right, here we go. Very relaxing music to start. They're really setting the mood. I want to know, did anything really leak from this direct? It seems like everything was airtight for the most part. Didn't see anything on Twitter this morning. Didn't see anything on Reddit that kind of leaked anything out, besides the usual stuff you see. So, all right, here we go. So much 3D art. This is such a cool presentation. This little build-up. They've done this with the Treehouse presentations too. Somebody discovered the fracture tool in Cinema 4D. Whoa. Odyssey sequel? Oh, Mario Kart.
Let's go!
I didn't think that we would lead off with a photo real Mario Kart, but that looks pretty good in terms of texture. The lighting is amazing. That's new. Rubber banding confirmed. I knew it. Mario Kart World. Going away from the numbering convention.
Hello everyone, I'm Koichi Kawamoto, and I'll be one of your guides for today's Nintendo Direct. I'm the producer for Nintendo Switch 2.
I'm Takuhiro Dota. the
Nobody
director
likes
for
numbering
Nintendo
9.
Switch 2.
iPhone skip 9,
And
Microsoft
I'm
skip
Tetsuya
9.
Sasaki, the
Something
hardware
about
design lead for Nintendo Switch 2.
something about designing something with the number
What you
9.
just saw was Mario Kart World,
Not gonna
launching
happen. Not in this
exclusively
world.
on Nintendo Switch 2. Now, what do you think this brand new Mario Kart game will be like?
A brand new entry in the Mario Kart series is launching exclusively on the Nintendo Switch 2 system. Welcome to this vast world. Kart races are held throughout various regions that span the globe.
Is this kind of like the Bowser's
Depending on the time
Fury
of
of
day
Mario Kart?
and weather conditions,
we
the
open
atmosphere
worlding
will
Mario
change.
Kart?
And in this Mario Kart game, you can go off the racetrack and drive virtually everywhere in this world.
Open world Mario Kart. Yep.
In the classic Grand Prix, race through 4 courses in a bid for first place. But don't sleep at the wheel. You'll also drive to the next course as part of the competition. With 24 drivers in each race, the most in series history, the competition is gearing up.
That's insane. They finally gave
Introducing
structure to Mario
Knockout
Kart,
Tour.
which was just a select screen.
Race non-stop from one corner of the world to another. There are multiple checkpoints along the way. If you're below the placement shown when you hit a checkpoint, you'll be eliminated. Can you make it all the way to the finish line? You can also freely drive around this vast world in free roam. By going off-road, you can explore new areas and routes. So drive wherever your heart takes you. You can also go for scenic drives with friends. And even take photos together at different locations.
At least it gives you an ability to practice too. That's the big thing. Like, unless you were in a race, you couldn't practice, anything in Mario Kart. You had to select. You had to be in the race.
A brand new race
that
across
free
the
roam is
entire
actually pretty
world
cool.
starts here. Mario Kart World. The game launches on the same day as Nintendo Switch 2.
All right, so we're
More
definitely
details
gonna
about this title will be shared in an upcoming Mario Kart World Direct. So be on the lookout for more information in the future.
All right, so launch date is post April 17th, so we know that.
Mario Kart World launches on the same day as Nintendo Switch 2.
Prediction
We'll share
1.
more details in
Correct.
the future, so we hope you're looking forward to it.
Next, we'd like to introduce some of the new features of Nintendo Switch 2.
All right, so now we go to hardware, right?
These are the Joy-Con 2 controllers for Switch 2. And on the right Joy-Con 2,
The C button.
we've added a new C button.
C button confirmed.
Let's take a look at some new experiences it offers.
They took that out conveniently off the poster. Nice animation on the new logo.
I'm still ahead of all of you guys. Woo! That was me. That was you. So quick.
Is this this is voice chat? This is a chat button?
Wait, no.
Nix, I'm coming for you.
No, I'm about to get
Come on, no.
Oh.
Introducing Game Chat, a new feature for Nintendo Switch 2.
Somewhere, someone in IGN Nintendo voice chat's like, crap, we gotta change the name.
With this feature,
They finally
you'll be able
did
to
it.
communicate with friends and family while playing a game.
Should we follow you? Yeah?
Yeah, follow
Okay.
Is this integrated into every game?
While using the Game Chat feature, your voice is recognized by a microphone built into the system.
Oh, okay. But you're still behind me, right? All right, let's keep going. Okay. So
It can pick up your speaking voice clearly, even from a distance.
look at this. Jump on here.
That's gonna be an interesting thing to
All right, let's
test.
keep
Like,
going.
how
So
powerful
let's
is
make a
this
left right here. Let's
microphone?
make a-
When it's noisy around you, your voice will still come through clearly, letting you chat with ease.
How did you get hit by a boat?
I wonder if they're using some sort of AI.
It does look beautiful.
Like
It's
voice
okay.
enhanced.
And you
to
can
make
use
that
this
happen.
feature in handheld mode too, letting you easily chat with friends and family. If you open the chat menu and turn on game screen sharing,
Good job, good job. There we go, there we go.
you can also share your game screen.
Did you see someone just like go on top of that dinosaur?
Really? They can do that?
Can do it? You guys, I just did it. Oh, I want to do it too.
Oh, shoot. Oh.
So they got video screen sharing kind of like similar to the Google Stadia stuff. They fully realized that.
Okay.
Also, that latency looks horrible.
You can chat to your heart's content, even while playing different games.
Very stuttery.
So hard, right? It's tough.
Oh, wow. I'm like in the sky right here. I'm like, I fell. I'm falling. Okay, we got it. We're safe.
Kirby, look, you're on a star. That's so
Very
cute.
so cute. Very stuttery feed.
You can adjust the size of your game screen,
Guys, I'm lost. Like,
Where'd you go?
or expand another friend's game screen.
You gotta get above that wall that's to your left. You're almost there,
It's just like the wall. Like if she gets past the wall.
This is where I have to do a
Hey,
little
the
wall
fake
ride.
the fake game conversation is a little bit long.
So
and-
everyone can watch them play.
Oh, I think I know where you are. I think I know where you are. Wait. Okay, I think we have to try.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, nice.
Like
Let's
it
take a
looks
picture here.
okay.
Okay,
It's
ready?
just kind of stuttery. Like I don't think it's necessarily a bad looking
yo, that's
feed
sick.
I like your
from the
pose
4,
piece.
but it's
On the
definitely
right Joy-Con
you
2
definitely can see
controller,
like
there's
there's
an
some
additional
information
button.
loss in those packets.
With the C button, you can pull up a chat menu.
As there should be, probably. I guess it would be remarkable if this
Actually,
thing was
guys, I got a
completely
call coming right now. So
lossless
I'll be right back,
information
yeah?
data transfer.
Here, you can quickly and easily mute yourself and more. And there's this.
Oh no.
By connecting this camera to the system,
Hey!
Hey, what's up? Hello. Yo.
Why go live on your own platforms
how's
when you can go
everyone
live
doing?
on Nintendo
Good?
Switch 2?
you can appear on screen and video chat while playing a game.
Your face is on here.
Wait, Nick, how was your test yesterday?
It was good.
No.
Here's how it looks with just the camera feed.
I'm way behind,
There
guys.
you go. I bet you like
Can
that.
you wait for me?
Please look forward to games which use your camera feed like
I can't
this.
wait to see if anybody actually hacks this thing. Can it
No,
take
wait,
any
wait.
camera,
Let's go
or does it
then.
have to be the
Let me-
Nintendo
okay.
approved camera?
Using Game Chat. Even when you're apart, you can play games and hang out as if you were together in the same room. Play together or compete in online multiplayer games. Chat while playing your personal favorites. Decide your own rules for a retro game competition. Or hold a sports competition between families. All together, anytime, anywhere.
That's cool. They realized local
Game
co-op
chat.
in a digital form, right? But I wonder if that will have any staying power.
What did you
past the
think?
First couple months.
In developing Game Chat, our goal was for you to enjoy playing online with others more closely, including family and friends. Almost as if you're all playing together in the same place. The camera you saw in the trailer is the Nintendo Switch 2 camera, which will be available on the same day as Switch 2.
Made by
A
Logitech.
Nintendo Switch Online membership will be required to use Game Chat. However, since we'd like as many people as possible to experience Game Chat, it will be available without a membership for a limited time. We hope you'll try it out. Additionally, Game Chat supports the Nintendo Switch Parental Controls app, and different settings can be adjusted. For example, whether parental permission is always required when a child wants to use Game Chat to play with their friends.
We'd like to introduce another new experience you can share with family and friends. On Nintendo Switch, even if you just have one game, you can pass a Joy-Con controller to a friend and play together. But on Nintendo Switch 2, you can play together locally on multiple systems using just one game, with Game Share.
This is an
As shown
extension of their
here,
virtual
even
game
games
card
that
stuff.
require multiple screens can be played if one person owns a compatible game. With Game Share,
cool.
you can temporarily share compatible games with others who also have Nintendo Switch 2 or a Nintendo Switch system. You can share a game with up to 3 other systems at a time. Game Share also supports online play with other Switch 2 systems, and you can use it with friends via Game Chat, which we showed earlier. Game Share can only be used with compatible games. This feature is planned for several titles, starting with a free update for Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics on Nintendo Switch. Game Share
That's
support
funny.
is
That's
also
that's
planned
kind of
for
like
select
a.
games
I mean, I
exclusive
remember as a
to
kid
Nintendo
trying to find
Switch
somebody
2,
who had
so
like
we
a
hope you'll look forward to it.
compatible Pokemon game. to
Up
trade
next.
with. So that's convenient. That's really nice.
We'd like to show you the Nintendo Switch 2 system itself.
Please take a look.
Same thickness, bigger screen.
At
same
7.9
thickness.
inches, Switch 2 has a bigger built-in screen. Here's how that compares to Nintendo Switch. The system's thickness remains the same.
1080.
With approximately double the pixels compared to Switch, you can enjoy games in greater detail on the 1080p screen.
All right. 1080p, 4K on the on the television, maybe?
The screen supports up to 120 frames per second, allowing for smoother gameplay in supported titles. The LCD screen is more vivid and supports HDR, providing more
It's such an
contrast
odd
between
choice.
light and dark areas of the images.
But I guess they need something to upgrade mid-generation to the OLED screen.
The all-new Joy-Con 2 controllers connect magnetically. Strong magnets keep the controllers firmly attached to the system. Detach your controller easily by pressing the release button on the back.
No more rails.
The SL and SR buttons are bigger for greater comfort and control when playing with a Joy-Con 2 held horizontally.
Thank God.
The left and right sticks are now larger. Each Joy-Con 2 controller can be used as a mouse to play with compatible games. Both the left and right Joy-Con 2 support mouse controls. By adjusting the audio balance between the ranges, sounds from the built-in speakers are clearer and more natural in handheld and tabletop modes. It has a built-in microphone, so you can voice chat with friends anytime via game chat. It also uses noise-canceling technology to filter sounds, so your voice will come through clearly.
AI, probably.
Even if you don't have a surround sound system, games can be enjoyed with more immersive, three-dimensional sound, as if it were coming from all around you.
Okay.
Place your Nintendo Switch 2 however you like with a large, sturdy stand.
We
You
now
can
have a
move it
stand
freely,
that won't
like
snap
this.
upon one use. That's what I was noticing when
In
I
addition
checked
to
out
the USB-C port
new
found
trailer.
on the bottom of the
There's two.
system, there's one on top as well.
So you can dock it anyway?
It's handy for connecting a USB-C camera
Or charging.
or
yeah.
charging in tabletop mode.
Yeah, so they did listen to those complaints.
Nintendo Switch 2 comes with 256
Wow.
gigabytes of internal storage.
Oh my
8
God.
times that of Nintendo Switch.
It's about
for storing
time.
your game downloads, save data, and more. Reading and writing data is also faster.
Nice, 4K.
Use the Nintendo Switch 2 dock to connect to your TV and enable up to 4K resolution for compatible games. HDR is also supported in TV mode.
A maximum of 60 frames per second on the bottom, too. Capped.
The Nintendo Switch 2 dock has a built-in fan that keeps your system cool. This helps keep performance stable. On Nintendo Switch 2, you can play Nintendo Switch 2 games, as well as compatible Nintendo Switch games. Physical and digital games are supported.
Nice. Fully backwards compatible. That's really important.
As you just saw, Nintendo Switch 2 isn't simply an improved Nintendo Switch. We redesigned the system from the ground up and packed in lots of new gameplay features. And to help players better understand the Switch 2 hardware, we're currently developing this game. Mr. Kawamoto!
The memory,
Hello.
the memory
My
storage
current
is
location
about time.
is
That was
actually
like
inside the
years
game itself.
back.
This is Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, exclusive to Nintendo Switch 2. I'm standing over here. Okay, everyone, join me inside the game.
Yep.
There are a lot of question mark
It's
icons here.
Nintendo Land
Let's examine them.
for Nintendo Switch 2.
This sign reads, "Where are the magnets?" The Joy-Con 2 controllers attach to the system with magnets.
Weirdness
and those
is
magnets
back
are inside the system.
with Nintendo.
The SL
cool.
and SR buttons on the Joy-Con 2 are made of metal, so that's how they attach to the system.
This is really clever. This is a cool little
A magnetic circuit is formed between them,
way
so
to
they won't
describe
easily detach.
the console or the capabilities of it. That's a really cool way to do it.
Through examining signs like these, you can discover all sorts of secrets about Nintendo Switch 2. Another example, the Joy-Con 2 controllers have mouse controls. And when combined with the gyroscopes, you can even do something like this. You can adjust the position of the golf club and
So
aim
it's
for the cup
Nintendo
by
Land. It's
rotating the
Nintendo
Joy-Con
Land
2.
for the Switch 2.
By combining the mouse controls and gyroscopes, things like this are possible.
It's like they took a lesson from Astro.
There are secrets to discover even as you're playing mini-games
for
and
the
tech
PlayStation.
demos. Some of the secrets range from the unique features of the system to tiny details you might not notice until they're pointed out. There are plenty. Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour will launch as a paid digital game on the same day as Nintendo Switch 2. So please check it out if you're interested.
Now,
It's gotta be a low
I'd like
price,
to share
right?
some more information regarding Nintendo Switch 2. This is the game card for Nintendo Switch 2 titles. It's the same shape as Nintendo Switch game cards, but it's now red and it has much faster data reading speeds. Next up is additional storage. Switch 2 will only work with micro SD express cards. They're a different
Which
type of
seems to
SD card
be
and
the
will
standard.
make high-speed data transfers possible. Please note that regular micro SD cards used for Nintendo Switch will not be compatible. Additionally,
How are
to
you
transfer
transferring your
data
data?
from Switch
Yeah.
to Switch 2, you can log into your Nintendo account to use the System Transfer feature. With this feature, you can transfer save data, digital games, and more. We're also releasing a new Pro Controller.
Oh,
It has a C
$70
button, which
down the
launches
drain.
Game Chat, and on the back, there are new GL and GR buttons, which you can use to assign existing button controls. In
So
addition,
far there's been
an audio
two-
jack has been added.
There's been
We've
two,
introduced a few new features, and
accessories,
after today's
the camera
presentation,
and the
the official Nintendo Switch 2 website will go live. There will also be an Ask the Developer article on the website, where the three of us will talk about the development of Nintendo Switch 2. We hope you'll check that out as well.
And now, the Nintendo Switch 2 launch date.
All right.
Nintendo
Today,
Switch 2 launches on June 5th.
5th.
We're very much looking forward to the day when you all get to
Isn't it March
experience
3rd
it, so
in
please wait
2017?
just a bit longer.
Now, broadly speaking, on Nintendo Switch 2, you can play 3 types of games.
Good ones,
The first type
bad
is
ones,
Nintendo Switch 2 games.
and middle of the road.
These games take advantage of the performance and features of Switch 2. The second type is compatible games that were released on Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch 2 Edition games are the third type.
That's exclusively.
Some games that were released on
Yeah.
Switch will receive upgraded versions that offer things like improved visuals, unique ways to play on Switch 2, and more. Now, I'd like to show you the Nintendo
no.
Switch 2 edition of
no.
Super Mario Party Jamboree.
Here's how
take a
we're going to
look.
make you buy software that you already had in the Nintendo Switch 2 edition.
Super Mario Party Jamboree
We're not gonna remake
is getting an
things
upgrade
anymore.
on Nintendo Switch 2.
We're just going to withhold your content.
The upgrade expands on the base game and adds new features, including mouse controls, audio recognition, more expressive rumble, and gameplay that uses a camera accessory.
Get ready for all your Switch
All of
games
which
to be
can be
re-released
accessed
with
on
Nintendo
Switch
Switch
2.
2 editions.
Let's check out 3 new and updated modes. First up is Mario Party mode. With a single camera, up to 4 players can join the festivities. You'll be able to see each other's faces as you play, so you can experience all the reactions and emotions in real time. Or
Somebody just put
4
in the chat. I
friends can
can't.
take the
I
party
can't read the chat
online.
fast enough. But somebody just put the tech guide they said they're making the tech guide
Up
paid.
next,
And that's
it's
exactly how I
Bowser
felt. It's
Live,
like, this
a
seems a
mode
little
where
bit
the
kind of strange to have a
livelier team
paid
wins.
add-on, unless it's like a buck.
Bowser will bring you on stage 2. Hit blocks to collect the most coins. Guide an RC car with your voice. Go! And compete in other mini-games using full body movement and sound. Finally, take a ride on the mouse-controlled carnival coaster. With the safety bar lowered and secured, you're off. Go! Use mouse controls to shoot down enemies while you feel the bumps and rumbles of the coaster. When you enter a pipe, a mini-game will begin. There's a bouldering game where 2 players each control an arm. And one where you shake a can of spray paint and quickly tag objects.
If you're a kid that has lots of friends and a very steady
Enjoy the
internet
thrill
connection,
of these intuitive
then you're probably
mini-games.
really going to
How quickly can
enjoy
you reach
these
the station?
integrations. But
From
I mean,
mini-games that use a camera, the built-in microphone, mouse controls, and rumble, the biggest party yet is getting even bigger. Super Mario Party Jamboree, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition, plus Jamboree TV launches on Nintendo Switch 2, July 24th.
man, that title though. That's a
Nintendo
long
Switch
title,
2 players who already own Super Mario Party Jamboree can upgrade to Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Jamboree
much?
TV
How
by
much is the
purchasing
upgrade?
an upgrade pack.
Please look forward to a new Mario Party experience, where you can see each other's reactions
I
while
imagine
playing.
that's got to be around $15.
Let's continue
or
presenting
something
some
like
more
that. $20
Nintendo
doesn't
Switch
work,
2
right?
Edition games.
Oh no. Oh no.
Nintendo Switch 2 editions of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild
God.
and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom feature enhanced resolution and frame rates, and also support HDR, which makes the image
Get
more
ready to
vibrant,
buy all your games again.
so you can play with smoother, higher definition graphics.
What does the backwards compatible
Plus,
do?
you can get even more out of your adventures in Hyrule using Zelda Notes. This new feature can be accessed via the Nintendo Switch app on smart devices. It's a game-specific service that's exclusive to the Switch 2 editions of these titles. For example, it can help guide you to various locations, like shrines and Koroks you haven't found yet.
Guidance activating. Proceed north.
Or you can share your creations using QR codes and send them to another player to create in their game.
This is an interesting integration. I don't know if anybody needs it.
We hope these features will make your adventures even more enjoyable. In Kirby and the Forgotten Land, you'll be able to enjoy an additional story exclusive to the Nintendo Switch 2 edition, along with improved graphics and frame rates.
I think the problem with this is that we don't know what the price point is.
This story takes place
so
in the
it's
Forgotten
hard to
Land
kinda
after being
justify,
struck
like,
by a powerful meteor
hey,
that's causing
all
some
your Switch
mysterious
games
changes.
have new integrations and stuff like that
We
are
hope you're
available
looking
to
forward
you,
to
but like
Kirby's
how
new
much of this
adventure.
is just kind of like amiibo integration where it's $15 for something kind of like cursory.
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond will have both a Nintendo Switch and a Nintendo Switch 2 edition. In addition to standard controls, you can use mouse controls for intuitive gameplay on Switch 2. Plus, you can explore the immersive world in 4K at 60 frames per second, or enjoy smoother action in Full HD at 120 frames per second. Choose from these two modes, both of which support HDR, based on your preference and playstyle. Plus, Pokémon Legends ZA, which is scheduled to launch later this year,
I don't know if pay
will not only
gating,
receive a Nintendo
like,
Switch version, but a
or
Nintendo Switch 2 edition as well.
Walling off
By taking advantage of the power of Switch 2,
capability
you can enjoy your adventure in Lumio City with enhanced resolution
is
and
necessarily
frame
a
rates.
good move for games that haven't even come out.
The Nintendo Switch 2 edition games you just saw will be available as both physical and digital
But there's
versions.
6 of them. And they've previously
And
already come out.
if you
so.
already own the Nintendo Switch version of a game, you can play the Nintendo Switch 2 edition by purchasing an upgrade pack. We hope you're looking forward to these Nintendo Switch 2 edition games.
We hope you're opening your wallet for these upgrades.
Next, I'd like to introduce a brand new game featuring mouse controls with the Joy-Con 2 controllers. Please take a look.
I wish they would tell you on YouTube how long you've been going live for. I guess it's 30 minutes so far. What is this? Is it, what is that? It's Rocket League. This reminds me of like a return to motion control from the Wii era that looks really good in a trailer, but in practice just does not work. I mean, how many of the motion control things on the Switch that were promised upon launch did not work? And like, who's got a table like big enough to actually complete that motion, you know? Drag and drive.
In Drag and Drive, you'll use both Joy-Con 2 controllers as mice to intuitively pull off various moves. We hope you're looking forward to a new twist on 3-on-3 matches using dual mouse controls. Next, here are some games from our publishing and development partners coming to Nintendo Switch 2.
I have long observed the lands between. This world is in dire need of repair. You can see them, can't you? The rays of grace that guide you through your burden.
Elden Ring?
I have no doubt you will become Elden Lord. May you take the throne.
Elden Ring Tarnished Edition doesn't exactly sound like a lot of confidence behind the hardware running it.
Hey, I'm Greg Kasabin
this
from
is Elden
Supergiant
Ring.
Games. Here to
It's
say that
kind of
Hades 2
rough,
is coming
though.
to Nintendo Switch 2. Our first ever sequel introduces the
nice.
Princess
Hades
of the Dead, an immortal witch out to vanquish the sinister Titan of Time. You'll battle beyond the underworld to the ends of the earth,
Dude, I
getting
could
to know
not get through
dozens of
Hades.
characters from
Like,
Greek myth in a story
I'm
that
just
reacts to
not
your
that talented
every
to get
setback
through
and
those
victory.
roguelikes like that.
It's the kind of game you can quickly pick up and play whether you're experienced with the original or not. Look for more about Hades 2 later this year.
皆さんこんにちは。カプコンの中山です。
Resident
我々がお届けするタイトルはストリートファイター6です。本体を持ち寄っての対戦はもちろん、任天堂スイッチ2だけの新モ
I'm
ードもあり
surprised that they haven't
ソフトは通常版の他に
they haven't
総
gone
勢26キャラクターを収録した
first
Gears
party
1、2ファイターズエディションの
in
2
this
バージョン。
direct
さらに
so far
ゲーム
with
と
this
連動す
announcement
るアミーボと
of
アミー
Street
ボ
Fighter
カードも
VI
一緒に
here.
スイッチ2の発売日にお届けします。お楽しみに。
Initiating Arsenal boot sequence. Weapon safety mechanism confirmed. All operating at normal levels. Testing data link with spine. Normal. Commencing launch.
After 2 long wars where our freedom was restricted, we will finally be liberated from humans.
I'm in need of a new arsenal, new equipment, and money. I'm for sale, and you're buying.
Rebels! It's so funny how quickly we've gone to a third-party kind of video trailer, which means that there's probably something coming up. But so far, bizarre that there's only been one first-party game announced in this trailer. There's a lot to get to, but you think they would go really heavy
Because we're in the middle of
before
a war.
they announce
Don't
games
you
like
get
this.
I won't just stop you. I'll tear you apart! All children,
Damon,
bring
Damon
hope to
Ex
our
Machina.
lives.
The
Don't
last
they?
Titanic scion.
Hey, this is Joseph Forrest from Hazelight. I'm super excited for Split Fiction to come to Nintendo Switch 2. The game
It
is
seems
a story
like
about friendship.
it really does seem like
You play as
Nintendo has
Mio,
found
who
this
writes
cadence
sci-fi,
of,
and Zoe,
hey,
who
we're
writes
going to
fantasy.
release games that
Together,
you've already
they
probably
get trapped in
played,
their own
but
stories,
we're going to make
and
them
it's up to you
accessible
and a
after
friend
the
to
fact.
help them break
But
free.
they're not really concerned in launching day
Let me
and
tell you
date
this. If
anymore
you like
for
It
the
Takes
last
Two,
like
you're
3
gonna love
generations.
this one, trust me.
But
And of course, you'll be able to play Split
you
Fiction
know,
on the day
I know
Switch
it's
2
important
launches.
to establish that you have
At
third-party
EA
support.
Sports, we're bringing
but
fans together across the world. Both
hopefully
on the
after a
pitch
good
and
first-party
on the
lineup
gridiron.
for your
We're
system.
excited to announce that EA Sports FC will be coming to Nintendo
Oh,
Switch 2.
FIFA. I mean,
Madden
Football
NFL
Club.
will also be arriving on the Nintendo platform. EA Sports, it's in the game.
Hi, I'm Alan Tu from Avalanche Software. We are bringing Hogwarts Legacy to Nintendo Switch 2. With enhanced graphics and seamless world transitions, you'll be immersed in the Wizarding world like never before. And the new
Unless
mouse
you have the
controls on Switch 2
PlayStation, in which
give you
you've been
even
immersed
more
for
ways
it
to experience the
within it
adventure.
for the last year.
Discover the
I still
enhanced
gotta play
magic
this game.
when Hogwarts Legacy launches on the same day as Switch 2.
Captain, is that mic supposed to be on? Son of a...
It must be hard. I want to say defensively of this presentation, it must be hard to put together a presentation that appeals to every single demographic. So in that way, I think it's really interesting. But is that a SpongeBob reference in Tony Hawk?
Hello, this is Christian Elverdam from
Hitman?
IO Interactive.
Yeah.
We are bringing our flagship title, Hitman World of Assassination, to Nintendo Switch 2. As the best assassin
How
in the
these
trade,
things
Agent
perform.
47 does
Yeah.
everything he can to accomplish his mission. And how each mission progresses will vary depending on the player's imagination. Our ever-expanding game will
How these
release
things
on the
perform
same
are
day
going to
as Switch 2.
designate the success of these things, but it's kind of like
Plus,
they're launching
we are excited to
way
bring another
after
familiar
the fact
agent to the
of
platform.
after its zeitgeist moment in culture. The Bond. Wow. All right. There's a release. There's a surprise. The Bond game finally gets revealed.
James Bond. The world's favorite spy is coming to
Wow.
Nintendo Switch 2, so stay tuned.
That's cool. Hopefully it's launch date. That's cool.
The story of light and shadow that never fades is reborn. Bravely Default returns, remastered in high definition. Featuring the Brave and Default commands that help you control the flow of turn-based battles.
The James Bond thing is
Change
really
and
cool.
customize
Project
jobs to
007.
build out your very own
I don't
party.
believe that had been revealed.
Enjoy your
before.
adventure with upgraded features and enhancements. And
If
all
that
new
Bond game
minigames
is any
with unique ways to
indication of,
play.
if it's anything similar
Square
to the Hitman
Enix presents the classic fantasy
games,
RPG.
then that
Bravely
game's going to be
Default
killer.
Flying
That
Fairy
game's going to be so
HD
fun.
Remaster.
No pun intended.
Set foot in Luxembourg as a warrior of light once more.
セガ龍が如くスタジオ代表の横山です。我々がお送りするタイトルは龍が如くゼロ誓いの場所ディレクターズカットです。
It's so funny because I think even after the fact
2つの歓楽街を舞台に土地を巡る争奪戦が勃発。
the Switch launching did not have a third. I mean, they had third-party support, right? But it was from like the
発売日は
usual
Nintendo Switch
suspects.
2の発売
But
と
them
同じ
having third-party support
今後のシリーズ展開にも
from
ぜひ
everybody
ご期
right
待
off the
ください。
bat just goes to show you how successful
We'll have more
the-
games to show from our
the
publishing
Switch
and
was,
development
right?
partners.
Is that everybody wants to
but
get on
for
this
now,
bandwagon.
we'd like to show a game being developed in collaboration with Nintendo. Please take a look.
Koei Tecmo. Oh, this is Hyrule
When the
Warriors.
Zonai, who descended from the heavens, joined hands with the Hylians, who dwelled on the surface, their union led to a great and prosperous kingdom. But in
Hyrule
time,
Warriors, Tears
a
of the Kingdom.
terrible evil arose. A war was fought to vanquish this evil, one which future generations would call the Imprisoning War.
Perhaps you truly have traveled back in time.
So that's Hyrule Castle? Then that must mean this really is the past.
It's funny how they're using these games to kind of fill in back lore to Tears of the Kingdom. These games never did it for me. Like there's something about the feel doesn't feel right. It just feels like constant button mashing. It just doesn't feel good. I like them for the story though. The story's kind of fun. Hyrule Warriors, what's the subtitle? Age of Imprisonment. Coming winter.
That was Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. It's being developed by Koei Tecmo Games with support from Nintendo. We hope you're looking forward to the untold story of the Imprisoning War.
There's
which
your
took place in
back-end
Hyrule
software for
long
Christmas
ago.
right there. One of them, at least.
And now, some news about Nintendo Switch Online. You can continue to enjoy Nintendo Switch Online on Switch 2. And with Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack, you can enjoy a new membership benefit exclusively on Switch 2. Please
another
take
tier.
a look at this.
Nintendo Switch Online Plus
Prepare
Expansion
for a
Pack will be
controller
getting
to
a
also-
new classic game library exclusive to Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo GameCube, originally released in 2001. Here are the titles that will be available at launch. A Legend of Zelda game that looks like a cartoon come to life through cell shading. Controlling the wind using a mysterious baton, Link sets sail on an adventure across the Great Sea. The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. Transcending history and the world, a tale
Why
of
would they
souls and
release
swords
that?
eternally retold. In this 3D, weapons-based fighting game, each fighter comes equipped with a different weapon.
And Link, yeah.
from the
Man,
Legend
geez,
of Zelda
this is like from
series
my
enters
childhood.
the fray. Soul Calibur 2. Experience a
If you
world
want to
of
experience the
white-knuckle
world
racing
of
at
big
speeds
polygons
over
and 3D
2,000
art.
kilometers per hour. 30 machines will put it all on the line in death-defying races. Featuring the series' first machine customization and story mode, get ready to experience F-Zero GX. In games
Sunshine,
that support
maybe?
multiplayer, up to 4 can play together locally or online.
They just released Sunshine on
Enjoy these classic games with clearer image
It's
quality.
funny because they just
and
released
higher
Sunshine on
resolution
that
than the original
Mario
releases.
All-Star thing, and it's funny to see it not
You can
represented
also
here.
check the controls for each title and customize them to your liking. More titles will be added in the future.
Oh, the soccer game, Super Mario Strikers.
Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo Classics, the Switch 2 exclusive game library coming to Nintendo Switch
also coming
Online
with
Plus
a
Expansion
unique
Pack
controller, right?
launches the same day as the hardware's release. And a dedicated controller
There you go.
designed after the original GameCube controller will also be released.
Following a lot of the
It
same
can connect
playbook.
wirelessly and also has a C button to quickly access Game Chat.
Oh, crap.
The Nintendo GameCube
Damn,
controller,
C button on the
exclusively available
GameCube
for
controller.
Nintendo Switch Online members, will also be available the same day as Nintendo Switch 2.
Whether
you
you're
can get it.
familiar with the games or haven't played them before, We hope you're looking forward to Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo Classics. Of course, you can continue to play select games from the systems shown here on Nintendo Switch 2. Okay, let's see some more games from our publishing and development partners.
All right. Undertale, Deltarune. So third-party heavy. Which is honestly surprising. I mean, not surprising. Everybody wants to get on the bandwagon. I'm just surprised that they did it on their first shot out of the gate. You know that everyone
I'm Randy
hated
from Gearbox. Borderlands 4, our upcoming flagship Borderlands game, will launch on
You know that
Nintendo
everyone
Switch
who designed
2.
those trailers hated just
Borderlands
putting
is
launch
back.
day.
Loot and shoot your way through
Like,
a world
they
filled
couldn't have
with
just
wild
announced
enemies
it in the
and
beginning
outrageous
so that the
weapons.
news stories could go.
We're still in development, and it's already the most ambitious Borderlands game we've ever made. Borderlands 4 will launch in 2025. We'll be sharing a lot of the game in the months ahead, and there's more from 2K on the way.
It's like 4 pages of
I'm
notes.
Dennis Shirk from Firaxis Games. We're releasing a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Sid Meier's Civilization 7. In Civ 7, you'll establish an empire and guide your people throughout the ages of history. With
There's
the
your
new mouse
mouse
controls, players can enjoy a more intuitive gameplay experience. Civ 7 launches on the same day
Show
as Switch 2.
SimCity, you cowards.
And if you already own the Nintendo Switch version, you can experience mouse controls on Switch 2 by purchasing the upgrade.
No Factoria.
And we
nothing like
have even more news from 2K.
Hi, I'm Lionel Jinks. And I'm Ben Bishop. Our final announcement for today is that WWE 2K.
I just want to point out
is
there's
coming to Nintendo Switch 2.
1.5 million people
Plus
watching
NBA
this direct
2K
right
as
now.
well.
This
We
is
can't
why you're
wait to see you in the
seeing.
ring and on the court.
That's why you're seeing
Four
every
kids
partner
by
show
this
up.
old tattered man. Off they went armed with nothing but youthful enthusiasm and a profound lack of preparation. Boom! Terrible at steering a raft. Let's slay some trees. Awesome! You nailed it! Hook, line, and sinker. Tastes
the live feed
amazing, doesn't it?
freeze?
Really have started to master this survival.
Hold on, I'm going to refresh the feed really quickly.
Really have started to master this survival thing. Next stop, the top. Ha! Nicely done. Well,
There is
I
some
think
sort of
that's
lag
everything. Let's
on the
set sail.
Nintendo Switch
It's time
feed.
For home.
Really quickly, let me put this down here until.
Hi, I'm Dave Crooks from Dodge Roll.
That is not me. That is the feed.
It's an aim for the Gungeon's depths in our roguelike shooter sequel. Now reloaded
So
in
the
a new
feed,
3D art style.
the feed froze. We're gonna keep the audio
Expect some
going
fan
here.
favorite elements to return. We're still working on the game, and we're excited to share more with you in the future.
That's kind of funny because there it goes. Oh man, there's a long lag in the middle of that. Civilization 7. That's always good to know that even in the biggest events, that even major companies can experience a lot lag on production process. Very reassuring to anyone who does this. Oh, they're all delayed. Let me refresh the page here. So there's some sort of music track going on while this is.
Hello, my name is Adam
really
Badowski
late.
from CD Projekt Red. We are delighted to bring the immersive world of the dark
The
future
stream
to
broke.
Nintendo players for the first time. Cyberpunk 2077 is an open-world action-adventure RPG set in Night City. Thanks to Nintendo Switch 2, you can transport yourself to the City of Dreams at home or on the go. Get ready to meet unforgettable characters and discover engaging stories
from Nintendo's
Cyberpunk
live
2077 Ultimate
and now they're
Edition
out of sync. So
comes to
they're
Nintendo
talking about
Switch 2
Cyberpunk while
on
showing a
launch
different game.
こんにちは、スクエアエニックスの浜口です。任天堂スイッチ2でファイナルファンタジー7リメイクインターグレードを発売いたします。本作はミッドガル脱出までを描いた3部作シリーズの1作目となり、20年以上の時を経て再創作された新しい FF7 を体験いただきます。スイッチ2で展開する FF7 リメイクシリーズにぜひご期待ください。
I'm going to push over here really quickly to myself while I look up to see if Nintendo... All right, let's push over to a Japanese version of the stream, which doesn't seem to be broken like the Nintendo of America stream, and we'll try to discern what's going to happen. It seems like there's that Pac-Man game. Hold down the sound. There you go. Shadow Labyrinth. So now they're in their third-party kind of reel here. I mean, if the stream is going to break at any point, then let it be the end, and we'll try to determine what games are what. You know, when I first started the stream, I didn't think that I would have to decipher Japanese because of a streaming problem, but here we are. So. Boom.
ここまでたくさんのタイトルをご紹介してきましたが、次がソフトメーカーさんの最後のタイトルになります。ご覧ください。
All right, one last message. Let's see. Resident Evil.
I give you my blood. I give you my life. Turn, O wheel, and transport him to a night of moonlight, to humanity's very dusk.
From Software, makers of Bloodborne, Dark Souls. I'm going to switch over really quickly. I'm going to push this over, put the sound down here for a quick second, see if we can get the UK version and see if that's not broken. There we go. And I'm going to bring it back up. They're a little bit behind. There we go. Okay. No more deciphering Japanese. So. I gotta trust too that like whatever's announced for the everybody's watching the same stream, I'm assuming, for the first one. So while this is doing, let me see if the other one, let me push this down really quickly for a second. Let me see if Nintendo of America recovered here. Yeah, I think they did. All right, let me push back. There we go. They recovered the stream at least.
Close your eyes and contemplate now the moon, as befits the soon to depart.
I pray that you are able, carrier of blood.
Is this the major bombshell? Is that
Tears will flow for one,
that Bloodborne is coming to Nintendo Switch 2?
and one alone.
The Dusk Bloods. A new game, okay. From we got 5 minutes left in this direct. I'm assuming it's an hour.
What you just saw was a brand new game by From Software.
Wow.
We'll be publishing a creator's voice article where the game's director, Hidetaka Miyazaki, will share more details about the game, so please check it out when it's available. That's all from our publishing and development partners.
Okay.
We'd like to thank the developers who appeared today, as well as our publishing and development partners who prepared footage for this presentation. In addition to what you saw today, our partners are working on many games coming to Nintendo Switch 2. We'll showcase more games in the future, so we hope you're looking forward to it. Next, please take a look at this.
It's a game or price? Smash? Kirby? Oh my god. This has got to be Smash. They can't be launching with a Kirby game. This is Smash, isn't it? Kirby's Air Ride? Interesting. From the director of Smash. From Sakurai.
Kirby Air Ride, which originally released on the Nintendo GameCube system over 20 years ago, is getting a brand new game. We hope you're looking forward to Kirby Air Riders, directed by Masahiro Sakurai.
We finally let him stop developing Smash.
Next is our last trailer for today. Please take a look.
Man, this better be killer. Oh, it's Odyssey 2. Yeah, this reeks of Odyssey 2. No? Oh. I was in the right universe. Donkey Kong? Diddy Kong? Donkey Kong 64 remastered. What? We took the worst game from the Nintendo 64 and we remastered. We made a whole new imagined world of that world that you hated. This looks pretty good. I would laugh if this required an expansion pack or something like that. Donkey Kong's redesigned face is kind of creepy. He looks a lot more like the movie. Ingot Isle. Donkey Kong Bonanza. That's a cute title. July 17th.
That was a brand new 3D platforming action game starring Donkey Kong, called Donkey Kong Bonanza.
They're gonna put the price
with
right
incredible
before
strength,
the bumper.
Smash through
Again,
enemies,
just like they did the last
walls, the ground, and just about everything as you demolish your way through a massive underground
time.
world.
You can climb everything
More
in this
details
new
will be
Donkey
shared in the
Kong.
future. We hope you're looking forward to it.
Thank you for watching so far.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
To recap, Nintendo Switch 2 launches on June 5th. Finally, here are the hardware options that will be available at launch.
Oh, SKUs.
We'll release Nintendo Switch 2, as well as a bundle that includes a digital version of Mario Kart World.
400. Oh, son of a...
For more details, please check the official Nintendo Switch 2 website, which goes live later today.
We've covered a lot of information,
Give us
but
the
that's
price.
all we have to share for today.
You'll have to wait just a bit longer for launch. We're very much looking forward to everyone being able to experience
Come on, you
Nintendo
gotta
Switch
give us
2.
the price.
We appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you very much.
What? We just sat through all of that for no price? All right, the treehouse. I'm going to put this down really quickly, and we're going to fade back in. I know this is the first time I've been live doing one of these things, and I have the treehouse just to see if they announce anything else. But that was an hour, and there was still no price. They told everybody to check back the Nintendo website for details. No price, nothing. They said, check it out later today, and we'll get... Yeah, there was nothing. How much does it cost? Listen, I'm not saying that they're not confident in their price, but when Nintendo Switch launched at $300, I think they put that at the end of one of these Nintendo Directs, and they put it pretty prominently and said, hey, this is it. But something about, hey, we're going to bundle it with Mario Kart World, which was one of the predictions that I had earlier today. So that came true as a pack-in. At least they're going to sell it as a SKU. Means that there's probably a price point that's higher than what they want it to be. Boy, a lot of stuff announced for this thing. Let's just do a quick recap here, and then we'll I guess we'll get the price later today, and we can react to that later tonight. Yeah, I mean, leading off strong, right? They led off with Mario Kart World. One of the predictions that we had before we went live here a little bit more than an hour and a half ago was that Mario Kart was going to be a pack-in, right? That ended up happening, called Mario Kart World. They gave a little structure to the Mario Kart, no pun intended, the world of Mario Kart. For years, Mario Kart, since the Super Nintendo, has been just a select screen of Grand Prix, right? The fact that they made it open world, the fact that they kind of gave you more drivers, right? They give you an option called free roam, is not only a way to practice Mario Kart, but it's a way to keep it casual, right? Give it a little bit more structure and depth, right? I'm sure that there was a contingent of the player base that wanted some sort of freedom and mobility in that world to kind of be more creative. And that's perfect, right? If they're going to pack it in with every system, or at least sell a SKU with every single system, that's perfect. That's perfect for those that demographic that wants a little bit more of that. So the relaxing music to start was kind of interesting. It kind of like set the tone. Like, don't get too excited because there's going to be a lot to happen here. So 24 drivers, open world, finally given a little bit of structure, Mario Kart World. They showed grinding on the side beams, which is kind of interesting, like going back and forth, almost like wall jumping, which I haven't seen before. And they showed a multitude of new tracks. I imagine this thing is going to be extensive. Lots of different updates, as they did with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So that's kind of cool. They're going to sell a lot of systems just with that alone. The rest of the Direct, kind of broadly disappointed. I would kind of react outside of the Mario Kart reaction. They did announce the C button. The C button was exactly what everyone thought it was. I don't know why they didn't just release the C button in the first place when they teased the system. Everyone knew it was communication chat. They called it a chat button, the game chat button. Video sharing in that game chat button. They kind of realized what Google Stadia was trying to realize when they launched, that you can pull up your friend's screen and really realize local co-op, which has been missing in a lot of games and a lot of presence in a lot of video games that used to be there with the Super Nintendo, with the Nintendo, is now back in this kind of digital form. You got to think Nintendo has a history of being the local co-op kings, right, of the castle. Nintendo's shipped with another controller. Super Nintendo had an option for another controller. N64 had 4 controller ports, right? That local co-op is very important to Nintendo. So that was interesting to see it come back. But this is the success of the chat button or game chat is going to be hinged on the performance of all the capabilities they kind of showcased, which was sharing your screen, having a Nintendo camera accessory, which is another cost, another add-on. If this thing stutters, which in the trailers it didn't seem like it did very well, kind of like the stream for Nintendo of America, it didn't seem like it did too well in its trailer. It just didn't seem like it performed well. It seemed like it was a stuttery kind of mess. It seemed like it wasn't coming really through very smoothly, and I guess you can't expect it. I said it during the stream. You can't really expect lossless quality when it comes to information sharing. A lot of this is going to be dependent on everyone's internet too, and what they're sending out. And so the idea of this happening, one, this is a hard thing to schedule just in general, but I feel like the success of this is really going to be dependent on how well it performs in actual practice. So I'd be curious. I thought Nintendo was going to do a Treehouse Live presentation after the Switch event, but it does not appear that's the case, or at least I can't find it. They started to, and then they kind of rolled it back here. So game share, I think, has been something that they've been kind of teasing for a long time. To me, that was like one of the biggest positive aspects, where you can bring your console close to other people who don't have that game and play multiplayer with them. Again, this is a positive extension of local co-op. It reminded me of trying to find somebody with a Pokemon copy to trade Pokemon when I was like 10 years old. You needed to find somebody who had a copy of one of the games to do it, right? You couldn't just play, together or something like that. They did it with really interesting games too. The party games is a perfect fit for it. The Collection 51. If you want to play checkers with someone digitally, to me, I think maybe this is just my old man speaking, but if you're going to play checkers with someone digitally, just break out the physical board. If you're going to play backgammon, break out the physical board. Go buy a physical board. You're going to have more fun. But still an interesting concept that they showed here. They went into the specs of the Nintendo Switch 2, 7.92 inches, and I do have the original specs here. That's up from 6.2 and 7 inches. They mentioned a 1080p screen, which had to be like, the standard. Not ideal, but again, you're talking about a small screen. This might be, again, older generation talking a little bit, but from 720, you really started to feel it after a while with 1080 with a 7.9 inch screen. I mean, 4K might be really, really pushing it. 120 frames per second it supports. It's going to be an LCD screen with vibrant visuals. The visuals in Mario Kart, the lighting, the global illumination, the ambient occlusion, all the stuff that was in that Mario Kart trailer really made it look beautiful. So, and they did pimp out their HDR support as well. They talked a little bit about the magnetic Joy-Cons, right, going down through the thing. That was something that immediately upon the old Switch, that was a problem, right? The ricketiness of the system with those rail systems. So I'd be curious to see how those magnetic ones work and how long they keep, right? Not that magnets necessarily lose power, but like sometimes they can lose a little bit, like depending on the cheapness of the magnet, it can be hit or miss. 4K in the television, capped at 60 frames per second, which is, probably the standard. That is the standard TV around. I'm assuming it's 4K upscaled with some sort of AI. Maybe not native 4K, but again, I guess I have to check on the Nintendo website for more details because I'm not seeing anything just yet. Nintendo, check out our presentation, Nintendo Switch 2. They haven't announced the price just yet, so weird. They did update the website. I imagine there's getting a lot of traffic here, but still nothing. And 2 USB-C supports. They kind of listened to everyone's complaints. It was hard to charge the Switch on an airplane, so they did provide one, as well as all these different kind of controllers. I'm assuming the GameCube controller is also going to be USB-C. The Nintendo Switch camera is USB-C. So they're going to need to have a place that's going to be accessible to plug in all these things. I'm assuming there'll probably be some sort of attachment with the dock as well, that you can plug in these things so it's not sticking out of the top of your controller. But the charging is really the biggest win there. The tech demo that was paid is the strangest. So in one way, it's really nice and positive that Nintendo is embracing the weirdness of their system again, introducing Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, where it's a tech demo that explains the capability of your Switch. In no world should this be a paid game. This should be completely packed in, just like Nintendo Land was. I hope that this is a $5, $1, something really cheap price point for this, because if you want people to get to know your Switch and get to know your thing, you don't put this behind a paywall. That was a big miss for me in this presentation. But I love the weirdness that this brought to the table. The little people reminded me of the UI of the Wii U, right? One of our predictions was that the return of Miiverse, the return of Street Pass or something like that, something weird like that. And this tech demo was really the only example of that showing its face. it seems like they took a lesson from Astrobot, right? Like Sony did such a good job showcasing the PlayStation 5 with a playable tech demo. And this playable tech demo, even though they had the mini games, they had the golf game that they kind of mentioned, it didn't seem like it went into depth or really was strong enough. We haven't seen that much from it, but I was expecting a lot more Nintendo lore to be integrated in this first teaser. And maybe that's to come, but I didn't see it upon first glance. But it was the return to the weirdness again. So that prediction did come true. No mention. My other predictions, no mention of Metroid 2. They did. They did mention Metroid. Metroid 4, excuse me. They did Metroid 4, Game Pass on Nintendo Switch. Not necessarily didn't happen, and no medical benefit that I could really detect. But they changed the micro SD cards to a micro SD Express. That's a pretty standard across the board thing. And they announced a new Pro controller with a couple buttons on the back. The second accessory that was mentioned in this Direct, which is probably going to be another $70, right? I imagine with the Nintendo Switch camera, with the Pro controller, I could only imagine there'd be several SKUs maybe, and that's why they're holding back the price that still hasn't been announced. And I still haven't seen it. Yeah, there's nothing on the website so far. So maybe this truly is later today. Nintendo Switch 2 editions. So they mentioned the launch date. The launch date is June 5th, which gives everybody about 2 months to put your pre-orders in. I don't think, it doesn't seem like Best Buy has, maybe they did launch the Best Buy Switch 2. They have notifications up on Best Buy. No one seems to have the pre-orders up just yet. Sign up for notifications, Switch 2. Yeah, there's nothing really that they do have. Best Buy basically is redirecting to the Nintendo Switch live stream, so that was no notifications of pre-orders have gone up yet. I guess that comes with knowing what the price is. I got to imagine these retailers know what that is. They just are embargoed from putting it up yet. But got to believe that thing is probably north of $350 for sure. $360, probably $400. Maybe that's why they're a little gun shy to announce the price. But June 5th is when it comes out, and that is then it will be a countdown of how many days it will take for somebody to get your hands on it. The biggest two, just to pause really quickly, they announced so many different things. I was very surprised because we're about to transition into software here for the full lowdown of this thing. I'm very surprised of how much software was either from the past generation or third party. I mean, was there two first party games announced in this thing, which is not the lesson that I thought Nintendo would have taken from their whole generation, right? Which was really supported and bevied by first party support the whole generation, and third parties jumping on the bandwagon once it's sold. But their first party lineup, their Zeldas, their Mario, right? They really bookended it with two big games, but a lot of third party support, a lot of old games that are getting Nintendo Switch 2 editions. Now, we saw this trend happen on the PlayStation with PlayStation and PlayStation 5. This confusion that, hey, you're getting the PlayStation 5 version, or you can upgrade for $10 for if you already own it. If you want Red Dead on the PlayStation 5, you can pay, you can upgrade for free. Or if you want some other game that has a little bit more enhanced visuals, we saw a $10 price tag in this generation for some stuff like that. There were definitely cases. I know it varied over time. No price announcement for the Switch, and no price announcement for Nintendo Switch 2 edition, which honestly, with the games, they all announced games that were previously released. Tears of the Kingdom being one of them, the old Kirby Forgotten Land one being one of them. They failed to really announce with this Nintendo Switch 2 edition what the price tag is going to be. to upgrade from those older games. I got to imagine it's $10. It probably needs to stay at $10. Anything more just seems like you're gouging, right? Especially for games that haven't even been released yet, because you're creating then this skew of, hey, if you want a little bit extra, right? It feels like it's a little penny pinching from the company that, you know, has a history of not being this way, I want to say. But, you know, again, I don't know, maybe that's not true. You know, they did make us buy for generation after generation old Mario Brothers 3 on each system software until Nintendo Switch Online came out. So maybe this is pretty much par for the course for them. I don't know, but it did seem a little bit gougy. The Tears of the Kingdom integrations didn't seem like anything that you couldn't live without. The Mario Party stuff was very, very extensive, especially with the old, with the game chat and the communication button that they announced. A lot of integration there. You know, can you play it without? Probably. Is this a non-essential? Probably. Is the whole thing non-essential? Yeah, definitely. But it didn't seem like they sold their upgrade enough. And without knowing the price tag, there's no way to appraise value with whether these upgrades are even worth it in the beginning. So the Zelda GPS, the Zelda Notes app, the integration with the new app that was announced last week, it seems like it's weird to be price gating people for capabilities that seem like something that was previously attached to Amiibo. But at least you were getting something physical for that. If all these games are backwards compatible, this seems like a hard pass. It was the one point in the Direct where it felt like the momentum really shifted from like, hey, this is exciting, to oh boy, maybe we've entered a new domain of like, they know they're successful, now they're trying to get everything out of it. Dragon Drive was announced, which was basically Rocket League with motion control in the mouse. An interesting thing to showcase. It just reminded me of the movement of the mouses, reminded me of like all those horrible motion control Wii games that worked in a trailer but didn't work in practice. And so I'd be very curious to see if this comes out. It seems like it's a fun game. It's a game of keep away on wheels. I'm not very looking forward to basically using my mouse control on a table while playing this. Like, that's the biggest concern. Like, can this mouse control work on a softer surface, right? How sensitive is the movement here, and how good is what's the word I'm looking for? The attenuation? Is that the right word? I don't know. Then they went into a bevy of third-party support, which is totally expected. The Nintendo Switch is the second best, probably the best selling console of all time. And you have From Software's Elden Ring, Hades 2, Split Fiction from Hazelight, EA announces FIFA, Tony Hawk, Street Fighter 6, Daemon X Machina, Hogwarts Legacy, Hitman from IO Interactive. And then the most exciting part of third-party support is probably the reveal of James Bond, the Project 007 game, which if you enjoyed the Hitman games in any way, and I loved those games, they were fun, they were clever, they were hilarious, and they're goofy as hell, that if the Bond game has any kind of DNA coming from that game, then that's going to be an awesome game to play. I'm glad. Hopefully it comes at launch. The third-party support just seemed very much in turn with what Nintendo usually does in each generation. You're always going to get this onslaught of third-party support that's months, if not years, after the initial release. So it's like, hey, if you don't have that platform, this is the perfect time to play some of those games you might have been waiting for. But if you have a PlayStation, if you have an Xbox, it just doesn't appeal to you, because you've already probably played some of these games or experienced some of those games or purchased some of those games. So it just seems like it is third-party support, but it's way after it's in the zeitgeist. Bravely Default, Yakuza 0, and finally they kind of moved on to Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment, which is what was the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. it seems like basically the Legend of Zelda spin-off, it's a way for them, as we talked about in the direct, a way for them to explain the lore of Legend of Zelda using these Muso games that they're so often called, and that's going to be releasing in the winter. These games don't really appeal to me. I love The Legend of Zelda. I collect all the Legend of Zelda games. They're not for me, and I could try it again this generation, but I feel like it's just if it doesn't click, it doesn't click, and that's how I feel with all those games. They're never going to generate the same excitement that a Legend of Zelda game is going to give me. And then they moved on to the NSO, the Nintendo. Nintendo Switch Online. Jesus. Okay, here we go. I'm back. I've been streaming for almost 2 hours, so give me a break. So GameCube classics come on. They announced Wind Waker, Soul Calibur, F-Zero GX, and then they have a scroll of things like Nintendo Strikers. That was huge. I love seeing those old games come back. Again, we've just gone through. Wind Waker was an interesting thing to lead off with because they just remade that game for the Wii U, and it's trapped on that platform. And I understand that they want to be faithful to the GameCube generation, but I feel like announcing Smash might be a better way to get people on board. And then give me 1 second. Let me pause for a quick second, and then we'll be right back. Hey everybody, and we're back. So they did talk about the NSO. We were talking about the GameCube classics. It was very, very different from what they. It was just a very weird thing to lead off on, right? Then going into other third-party support, Deltarune, Borderlands 4, Civilization 7, where they finally really showcased that mouse support in a smart way, finally. And then NBA 2K wrestling is announced as well, and then the stream broke, which is just that stuff's going to happen in live performances all the time. It's not necessarily something that you can predict. There were 1.5 million concurrent people watching that stream at the same time. Some server got loaded, and then there was delays. In that delay, it seemed like Cyberpunk 2077 was announced. Final Fantasy VII Remake was announced, maybe. So don't count me on that because that's when the stream broke. Or don't quote me on that. And then we have Duskbloods, a new game from Software, which was, I think a lot of people thought it was Bloodborne at first, but then it ended up being a new game. And then, there's three mainline first-party Nintendo games that were announced, which was Kirby Air Ride by the director of Smash Brothers, Sakurai. And then they transitioned into Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong 64 makes its triumphant return to Nintendo Switch 2, coming out in July 17th of 2025. Ingot Island. It makes sense that they're trying to follow a playbook from 2017. 2017 launched with one of the biggest games on Switch, which was Breath of the Wild, a big single-player game. And at the end, they had in the end of the year, they had Mario Odyssey, right? Two of the biggest franchise players ever when it comes to single-player games. It makes sense that they lead it off with a big multiplayer game that's going to be a pack-in, and it's going to sell gangbusters, right? This game sold over 75 million copies since its release on the Wii U. So it makes sense that they would go with that first. And then it seems like they tried to kind of copy the Odyssey formula for Donkey Kong. Very odd looking Donkey Kong, a very movie like version of Donkey Kong, and called Donkey Kong Bonanza. It seems like it will be an Odyssey like. I would have probably liked to see Odyssey 2 here. That seemed like the easy play. But they zagged. When everyone thought they were going to zig, they zagged. And the visuals look amazing. It very, very much looks like Odyssey. It's of the same universe. It tricked me during the stream. Movement and how this game feels, I feel like is gonna determine its success, because the Mario Odyssey, when it was released, right, that game was fantastic. It was borderline addictive. Donkey Kong doesn't necessarily, even from its 2D platforming versions, the movement is very particular. And it's funny to me that they would bookend that remaster of Donkey Kong Returns, Donkey Kong 3D Return, whatever the game's called. It's somewhere in my bedroom. It's funny that they would bookend those releases so close to one another, when it's like people have already kind of got it out of their system. They played an old game that was remastered, didn't get renewed well, and they'd still go ahead with this. And then the most confusing part of the direct is just ending it without a price, saying, "Hey, check back on our website. We've done," which still has not popped in terms of the SKUs or in terms of the price. Yeah, still nothing. So everyone's still left kind of in the lurch. Ultimately, it's hard to. It's funny to me how many. It's funny to me how many of my predictions were right. I think that's the biggest feeling coming off of this was the Mario Kart pack-in, the return of the weirdness that kind of came true. But the disappointment in knowing that it felt the price gating thing is weird. Showcasing the upgrade stuff was really weird. The dodging of the price is really weird. It kind of left me with a little bit of disappointment going, oh, in 2017, Nintendo was so hungry to win back their fan base. It felt like everything was for the consumer. And this one kind of felt like, hey, if you want to play our games, if you still want to continue this ride, you have to pay an extra admission fee. And that's what it kind of felt like a little bit. The lack of first-party support is kind of the lack of first-party software is kind of strange and odd for a platform that is so dependent on these things. It's been 7 years since Odyssey. You'd think you'd at least see a tease for it. The Mario Kart looks beautiful. The Donkey Kong does look beautiful, but it's just not as stellar. I'm not left with a impressed feeling. I'm left with more of a, this seems like an iteration of a console as opposed to something fresh and new. The weirdness, the pay gating, the price gating of the tech demo, it just seems like such an odd play. So anyways, well, for now, we've been streaming for about 2 hours now, so we're going to wrap it up. We're going to try to cut this into bits and bobs and stuff like that, so it's a little bit easier digestible. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for staying with me in this live presentation of the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. Hopefully later on today, maybe we can jump back online and talk about the price, or at least put a short out talking about the price if they ever announce it. It doesn't seem like they have the details that they promised are not there. I don't know what's happening in the treehouse. It doesn't seem like that's live. So we'll see as the day goes on. But thanks for joining me on this live stream. This has been kind of a cool experience. It's a one-time experience that we have here to do this, and so I'm glad that we were able to kind of do it live. So thanks for joining me again. Subscribe to the podcast. Go on YouTube. and YouTube at Pal Not Found, and go hit the subscribe button, and also go ahead and find us online at Apple Podcasts, anywhere you find podcasts, and rate and review the show. It helps the show grow. And thank you for this early morning stream. Thank you for joining me on episode 60 of the Pal Not Found podcast. And we're out. Bye.
She's losing track of the days, so she's been dancing to the music blaring from the Renegade, and in the morning she lays with a memory.